The Black Dish is the world's first all-black beauty dish that has made all kinds of claim as being one-of-a-kind lighting tool. And of course, I decided to blow 500 Canadian dollars to test this product and find out if it's worth any of your hard-earned cash. You can thank me later. The Black Dish comes in two varieties, the 40-inch version and the 22-inch version. Both sizes have the same premise and they're collapsible softboxes with an all-black interior and a removable backplate to function as a kind of pseudo beauty dish. The first thing I was greeted with while purchasing the Black Dish was an absurd international shipping fee or expense of $125. This is largely because the product claimed to be 17 pounds when in reality, the total package of the unit, including the box, was 5.3 pounds. And after receiving the box, we were welcomed with many promises and quotes. Here are two of my favorite about the Black Dish. This, being the Black Dish, allows photographers to really capture distinct feature of their models. It's like automatically enhancing the dodge and burn areas on the face in the modifier without having to edit. And this is quoted by, quote, photographer. Yes, my friend photographer. What a distinctively great guy. I really like him. That's all nice, Mr. Photographer. But before we test the Black Dish, let's explore the many claims from its creator, Mr. Brandon Cole. In Brandon's Cole's first video,
to bring you the most consistent, dramatic, natural look of any modifier ever to be produced.
If I take him to his quote, it's basically the best lighting product for all situations ever. We'll see about that. Also,
Black Dish modifies light by bouncing the light into the darkness of the beauty dish and softening the light so that you receive little to no harsh lighting or hot spots.
So, unless the natural rules of physics have changed, this is complete BS. The softness of light is determined by the size of a light source relative to a subject. Any light source larger than the Black Dish will obviously produce a softer light regardless of what the color interior is.
Now that combined with a dramatic extra step of contrast, all mixed inside the beauty dish while keeping the natural look of your subject and drastically reducing the harsh lighting and hot spots.
Contrast and the hot spots kind of go hand in hand together. I mean, the term contrast by itself, if you add more contrast, it means a greater difference between light and dark. More contrast means more intense hot spots. It's impossible to diminish hot spots while adding contrast. You can just maybe dim down stuff.
Because the modifier is all black, when light rolls around the interior, mixes with the black surface.
So light isn't a tennis ball. Light doesn't roll. It moves in a straight line. Light isn't sauce. Light doesn't mix with a surface. Light is either reflected or absorbed by the surface. The less a surface reflects, the more it absorbs. This is exactly why we don't use black to bounce light. It's just simple logic. Because it's more likely to convert light into heat on the surface. Just try to wear a black t-shirt in the summer and talk to me later. So this makes the Black Dish very inefficient to light a subject. Brandon goes on to share the benefit of the Black Dish is to restrict intensity. Intensity here means brightness. There's absolutely no benefit to restricting the intensity out of the modifier, as all strobes offer you the control over the power, allowing you to restrict the intensity regardless of what modifier they're in. And if you've been following up to now, it's very clear that Brandon is willing to hype his own product at the cost of being accurate. All right, I hear you. Some of you might not be entirely convinced. So let's test the Black Dish and see how it actually performs. I compared the light output of the $250 Black Dish versus a $59 Glow Beauty Dish softbox with a silver interior. Here's a chart of the Black Dish versus the Glow 25-inch softbox. Just a quick example. You'll notice that at a 36-inch distance, the Black Dish with a plate and no diffusion loses a staggering 4 stops difference between the Glow and the Black Dish. This means that when you're using the Black Dish instead of using the traditional silver or white modifiers, you will have to use higher power levels. This means longer recycling time. This also means burning through batteries faster, and even worse, flash durations that are really terrible. And let's check out all these other pseudo benefits from the Black Dish. So the Black Dish claims to be a beauty dish. I doubt that, but let's compare it to the industry standard, the Mola. In order to light this portrait, I use the Mola YvensB Beauty Dish that serves me as my main light, and there was no other source of light except the reflector under the subject. Next, I swapped the Mola for the Black Dish without changing any of the power settings in my strobes. As you keen eye might have noticed, it's much darker. Next, in order to be fair, I raised the power to the strobe to compensate for all the light lost by the black dish. When we compare these two images side by side, you can see there's no reduction in hotspots. It seems that there's no special quality of the black interior, as we still have significant incident highlight creating a hotspot in the image. So is the black dish claim true? Not in this case. And in terms of color, the black dish also claims to create stunning colors. I'm not sure how. It's difficult to portray color in a quality in an 8-bit video over YouTube. And in order to be thorough and just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind while doing these tests, I sent it to Rob to test the color output and also get his opinion on the black dish. This is also a sanity check for me because the results I was getting was going a bit nuts, and let's see what he has to say over the black dish.
So first I'm going to compare it to this 22-inch Godox Silver Beauty Dish, and then I'm going to compare it to a product that is a bit more similar, which is a 25-inch Glow Easy Lock. And I think that's more similar because the black dish isn't a conventional beauty dish. I mean, it's not a conventional anything because it's black on the inside, but it's not a beauty dish, it's a softbox with a beauty dish plate. All right, so my first major takeaway is that I would never use the black dish without diffusion. The black dish is almost 6 stops less powerful than a beauty dish of the same size, and that's like taking an 80-1200 Pro, a 17-pound pack and head, and turning it into a Godox V1. It's just a tremendous loss of power. On top of the low output, the black dish has a terrible light pattern without diffusion. I mean, it is darkest in the center, it is brightest on the edge, and it has a very harsh fall off. And I can't think of any scenario where that would benefit portrait photography. Using it with diffusion isn't as bad. You lose about 1 to 2 stops of power versus a typical silver interior softbox. But even 1 stop can still be a lot because that's the difference between an 8600 Pro, a 9-pound light, and an 8300 Pro, a little 3-pound light. And when you're using the black dish as a softbox, there simply isn't much difference compared to a typical silver interior softbox. There isn't any decrease in specularity or increase in contrast. It's impossible for those two things to happen at the same time because specularity is contrast. So really you're just tossing away light output without any significant benefit. Now when it comes to color, the black dish surprised me because normally if you are bouncing light off of a black surface, your light quality is going to be terrible. But the black dish, even with no diffusion, managed to keep a CRI average in the 90s, which is okay. I mean, it wasn't in the high 90s, which is what you would expect with flash, but low 90s, it's still acceptable. Unfortunately, where the black dish is lacking in terms of color is the R9 color spectrum, which is where there's a lot of critical red tones in skin tones. So that's not really where you want a softbox that's going to be used for portraits to be lacking. There also is a bit of a tint issue, about the same amount that there was on the 8100 Pro. So a lot of people made noise about that, and this one does not have just a perfectly clean white balance.
All the testing that we did for the black dish unfortunately doesn't help it, but it doesn't end there. And after these disappointing results and a lot of money spent, I began to dig more and more into Brandon Cole's video promoting his product. He shared a video, which I will link below, that includes a link to raw samples in the description. When you navigate to the Google Drive folder he provided, you can see that the Google Drive creates thumbnails for all the ARWs, which are Sony RAWs, except for one. I downloaded all of these files and opened the balanced black ARW file that was missing a thumbnail in Google Drive. Whenever you open the file and you look for the EXIF data, you'll notice that there's no information. No lens data, no exposure information, and nothing about the raw file itself. What happened here? Curiously, it's also 3 times heavier than the other balanced files. This obviously means that the black dish raw was retouched or has some type of adjustment made to it and cannot be saved as a raw image. The file was then saved as a Sony ARW extension to appear as a raw file. I'm not sure what kind of adjustments were made, and I couldn't backtrack it because they're pretty much set in stone, but this is a clear example of misleading its viewers by sharing edited images as if they're a raw file and claiming they are so. In the same video, Brandon states that the use of black has been used in V-flats. I'm a huge V-flat user, and this is absolutely untrue. However, this is not why black is used in V-flats. Black's sides of V-flats are used as a negative fill, as we all know. They're used to subtract and absorb light that would otherwise bounce back to its subject. I made an entire video on the subject of negative fill here on the Sharpen channel. It's to the point and it's educational, so please watch it if you want to learn more. Links are below, or wait until the end of this video to watch it after watching this disastrous review. And to spend any more time in this video will be crazy because I'm already $500 out to buy that thing, send it to Rob, doing testing, blah blah blah. So help a brother out and check out real beauty dishes and other alternative in the link below. The black dish is not part of these links. From the promises made on the packaging of the black dish and also the many claims that came from the videos, the black dish does not live up to any of its claims of either diminishing hot spots, improved colors, or being the softest light ever to be made. The reality is the black interior throws away valuable show power or brightness and will not render colors accurately, specifically in color spectrums that are critical to skin tones. Don't fall for the hype, do not buy the black dish, and this has been YvensB for the Sharpen channel, out.